Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got Victoria Mensch for you today. And she helps high achieving leaders find balance between success and happiness. It's really going to be interesting what she has to share with us today, the intersection of academia, executive leadership, and I'm really happy to welcome her to the show. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Very happy to be here.
Yes. So start off by talking about your background just very briefly, and we'll dive right into the conversation.
Yes, sure. So I'm Victoria Mensch. I spent most of my career in Silicon Valley in high tech industry, over 25 years of experience. But I started as a psychologist. So right off high school, I really wanted to be a psychologist. So I went and got a psychology degree. I got a PhD in psychology. And then I started working in the psychology field. And very quickly, within a year, I realized that's not what I wanted to do. I was very tired. I was exhausted. So, I thought I was following my passion. I made a mistake. So I pivoted into a corporate career successfully. Luckily, it was a really good time in Silicon Valley to do that. That's how it all started. I worked in large corporations, global corporations. I worked in startups. I worked in a boutique consulting company, and I eventually founded my own consulting company as well. But now, at this time, my passion for psychology did return. So I am very interested in the topics of success and happiness and how to build the harmony, work like harmony. So that's a passion project of mine. And I'm happy to talk about that as well.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And one of these, a couple of my colleagues, they're startups down in Silicon Valley. And what's interesting is basically it's like a 5 year just work nonstop, just get product market fit, get Series A, all of that. How do you balance what you're talking about with this kind of startup culture where it's win at all costs? And if you have a work life balance in Silicon Valley, you're out.
Yeah, so that's why I don't really like the word balance. I like the word harmony. Harmony gives much more flexibility, right? Because it's really very personalized and very individual for each and every person. There are some periods in your life when you're all work. There's some period when you're all family. I think what's important is really to keep, and that's what I see in myself and what I see people that I work with as well, is to keep the understanding why you're doing this. The question why is very important. What's important for me is important, not what's important for other people, not what society tells us is important, what our parents told us that is important, not what we read in the glancy magazine, what's important for you. And you design this for you, right? So that's the question that's very important. So a lot of people say work, I cannot do anything else. So you lose control over your own course and your own life because of all those other influences. That's my advice. Let's put it this way. Really focus on harmony more than balance. You are a multidimensional, multi-passionate individual, and just give freedom and give permission for all parts of that to be expressed.
Interesting. The difference between balance and harmony. That's quite a. The other question is with this idea of productive happiness, what are key strategies to transform everyday stress into productivity and genuine happiness?
So it goes, but it very similar to what you were talking about, right? So people, visually, the startup culture is just very obvious, but the burnout is on different levels, right? When you don't care about, when you're not taking care about your whole personality, right? So some of those can get neglected to the point. So what is burnout? It's really a very state of exhaustion. It's like you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you don't feel that you're in control. And people really come to the point of despair. Oh, for sure, it's a job that's at fault. Or for sure, it's this person who's next to me that's at fault. And we come to the point of despair that I cannot take one more day of that, and I need to change that. It's for sure it's a company, right? So for sure it's a job, for sure it's this. And we change that, we change the external circumstance, and it helps. It does alleviate that very acute pain that we have. But lo and behold, a month later, you're finding yourself, 2 months later, you're finding yourself in the same situation because you took yourself with you. You got yourself out of that kind of external circumstance. You put yourself in another circumstance, but inside you stayed the same and you're going to the same into the same problems, the same frustrations, the same pain. So the productive happiness, the way is to make those changes, but make them through taking control over your life, to taking responsibility for your life, to recognizing that kind of multi-passionate nature, that you're not your job, right? So you are a person, a whole person with all these different sides, and all these different sides contribute into your well-being. So that's the productive habits. Maybe at the end of the day, your answer will be that you need to change your job, or you need to change your partner, you need to change your location, but you do it in a controlled, aware, and conscious way. So hence the productive way.
Interesting. I like that very proactive, intentional approach to life changes as opposed to reactive and leaving that negative baggage associated with those decisions. Other question I have, which was interesting, is what you were describing resonates with what I was reading about the other day, which was there's the Silicon Valley startup, which is basically public company or get acquired, but there's also startups what's called lifestyle, which would sounds like what you're describing is this balance and harmony and just create an income for yourself that you can thrive and flourish. My question for you is this idea of what are some good strategies and practices to put in place to help manage the stress and how to also create proper boundaries when you're going about your day-to-day life.
When I talk about the burnout, I really like to talk about two levels of burnout prevention. The first level, and I think it's applicable to everyone. So if you think about our modern life, there are a lot of pressures and it's really fast paced, right? So there are all the disruptions that we're talking about. It could be technological disruptions. It could be political disruptions. It could be, I don't know, whatever that is. They're not going away, right? So they're going to continue, but the key here is really to how we manage that. So the first level of burnout prevention is really stress management techniques. It's just on the physiological level. How do you take yourself out of the survival mode into the what we call rest and digest mode? A lot of us, this is what stress is, right? It activates that survival reaction that everything shuts down. You're only looking for dangers, for life-threatening events, and reacting to those life-threatening events. So there's stress management techniques that we all heard about, but we're not really practicing, at least not on a discipline kind of consistent level. The way you talk to your survival system to calm it down is not verbal. That's the problem. That survival system doesn't really understand verbal cues, right? So it understands the level, it understands the language of breathing, it understands the language of movement, it understands the language of visualization and images and all that. So those are stress management techniques, how you send the signal to your survival system that the danger has passed. You can come down, right? So you can go into a normal kind of productive mode of operation. Breathing is one of those. Breathing, there's so many different breathing techniques out there. You can explore them. One, some of them are really simple. The one I really like is the boxed breathing, because you don't really need to get any certifications or anything. It's very easy. So you inhale on 4 counts or 5 counts. You hold your breath on 5 counts. You exhale on 5 counts, and you hold the breath on 5 counts. So when that stress and overwhelms comes up, when the anger comes up, whatever the emotional reaction that's out there, frustration, or fear, or anxiety. So you do 5 to 6 of those exercises, and the impact is immediate. Immediately, you get out of that anxious state and you go into calm and a more controlled, again, more controlled and more natural state for us. Now, our natural state is really that rest and digest state. So movement is another one of those. I'm not talking about regular exercise. I'm not talking about going to a gym, to the gym 1 hour a day or running marathons. If you do that, fantastic. A lot of people either don't want to or they think they cannot do that. I'm really talking about the movement in the moment, right? So when that, again, anxiety, overwhelm, stress, frustration comes in, you complete that stress cycle with a movement. It could be a brisk walk. It could be stretching. It could be you clench and you relax your muscles. That sends the system to survival mode. So now you can turn off now. It's time for other systems to come on board. And then in visualization, what I mean by that is kind of meditation, or it could be guided meditation, something where you sit down for 5 minutes and you switch your state that way. tons of guided meditations out there. So that's the first level, really stress management techniques. It's especially important for high achievers, entrepreneurs. If you're a startup founder, if you're a CEO, if you're an executive, you have all this stress. So many people are coming at you, so many different responsibilities, so many different things that require your response, your reaction somehow. How do you prioritize them? How do you keep your clean state of mind? So stress management techniques, right? So that's you're like an athlete. You're an athlete. So you owe it to yourself to regulate your system and take control over your survival mode that way. So it is really about taking control and responsibility for that. And then the second level is what we say is really how you control your state of mind. And that's a very interesting point because a lot of us, all of us are actually driven by desire to be happy. But the greatest myth is that was told that we were taught that's out there is that we will be happy when we achieve something, right? So a lot of that drive for achievements is now when I get to that college, then I can relax and be happy. Now when I get that house, then I can relax and be happy. Now when I grow my company to a certain level of revenue, then I can relax and be happy. And that's the greatest myth because happiness is really a choice and it's really a process and a practice. So you can achieve it, and yet you can actually practice. You can choose to be happy. You can practice those happiness, that state of mind that allows you the sustainable drive and coming back to your true self and your true desires.
Yeah, it's a lot of the high achievers listening to this podcast, especially the entrepreneurs. We always talk about this arrival fallacy. I'll be happy when I've only seen it prevalent in North America because other cultures they practice what you're talking about. So the next question I have is you talked about these basic and then these second level. Talk about the way of creating boundaries in our world where so that to protect our energies, because a lot of times we have these energies like detracting from us or putting us down. How do you manage those types of boundaries?
Yeah. So for boundaries, especially in the corporate setting or in the work setting or in the family setting, whatever that is, right? But from the work perspective, I think what helps, first of all, is to recognize that you are not your job, right? So you are a person and you have different parts of your personality that require equal attention. So for us, if you look at to experience the state of well-being or the sense of flourishing, I'm not just surviving. I'm not just going through circles through my routine. I'm actually flourishing. I'm in the state of, yeah, this is the best day of my life. It actually has different components to that. And job and financial security is one of those components, important one, but only one. So the relationships, there's your well-being, your health, your vitality, right? So these things, recognize that is important. So, and now from that perspective, financial security and job and achievements, whatever career aspirations, they are important, but they're not 100% of you. So what within that, what you are contributing into your job, into your company, into your career, what is the greatest value that you bring to the table? Not the number of hours that you spend there, but what is the value that you're creating? Yeah, ideally, you want to recognize and identify the value that's uniquely to you. That's the value that I do. I like doing that, and also I'm really good at that. And there are very few people who can contribute the same way. And you measure your worth, right? So you measure your worth in the company that way. What is my value? I measure my value, and everything else you offload, right? So you outsource it to other people, you delegate it to other people. So that's the important step to recognize what is my value, not the number of hours, not the number of meetings that I'm attending, but actually the value that I create. What's my worth there? That's one step. And the second step is relinquish unnecessary control over all other parts where you're not contributing value. But I call them surrogate activities, right? So I do them. I remember in my corporate career in the beginning, especially when I worked in large global corporations, so we had this really early morning calls with Europe, with Asia, the crazy in hours. And I would feel obligated to go there, even though I would not say a word, right? But like I have to be there. People see my name on that Zoom screen. We do it out of fear, not out of bringing value. So you can easily offload and free up your space. You can say no to those as long as you realize what is it that you want to say yes to. And again, relinquish control is the next step. Unnecessary control. Is this really my business? How people put together that spreadsheet, is this really my business? I really want to see the results for my employees, for people who contribute to my business. I want to see results, be clear on that, and how they get there. It's really their business. How many hours they spend doing that, it's their business. So you relinquish that control. You trust that it will be delivered the way it will be delivered, and the quality it will be delivered that might be different from how you would do it, but it's going to be valuable to you. And that frees up a lot of energy and a lot of time.
Mm.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense, Christopher?
yeah, interesting. I like that. I like that. Relate the value and really relinquishing control and just focusing on what you can do. Where do you see what you're talking about playing out in? Because a lot of time now, we have a lot of options for income. So a lot of people are entrepreneurs, and there's still people in the corporate setting. So where do you see what you're talking about playing out? Is it more applicable to the entrepreneurship setting or corporate setting, and how do you reconcile those 2?
I think it's equally important. It's more on the individual level. So you as a person, I think a lot of us, and I was one of those people as well, we accept the routine, right? So that, oh, okay, this is what goes as it gets. Yes, I'm busy, I'm tired, I don't have family, or I don't have enough money. And we just accept it is what it is, right? At some point, you just become in the state where you're neither there, you're in between. You're not really extremely unhappy, but you're not really happy. You're just,
Yes.
how's life? Like, so I think that's unacceptable, right? So we should raise the bar for ourselves. So the state of flourishing and enjoyment and happiness, that should be the default state, right? So that's what we are here for. And it doesn't matter whether and some people they like corporate settings. Some people really cannot fit into corporate settings and they want to be entrepreneurs and want to be that way. It's a choice. It's a personal choice. But either way, that default state of joy and happiness and feeling, living the life you love, that should be default state. And that's really on the individual. Nobody else can make you happy. It's only I can make myself happy. Nobody else can. And that's a practice. And you can craft that life whether you're in a corporate setting or you are on your own. You can craft that life for yourself and make that choice.
Interesting. How can people find out more about you and follow you and find out more about the work that you do?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn. That's my main place, Victoria Mensch. You can go and see there and you can see everything that I do. If you want to talk more about this, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to discuss and help out with the harmony, work-life harmony. We do retreats, we do mentorship programs, we do programs for teams as well. Burnout is really a
Sure.
productivity killer in companies and teams. So if you figure that out, you'll get a much more motivated and much more sustainable workforce as well. So we do that. But LinkedIn is the main channel.
Yeah, I love that. And for all the audience, be sure to give Victoria's socials a like and follow and check out her work. And thanks so much for a great conversation.
Thank you very much.